Hello everyone, today we're installing the rafters and the roofing deck on our 8x8 modern lean-to shed. This may look complicated, but don't worry, I'll show you some tips and tricks on how to measure and cut your rafters so you can get this done in no time. To start, we need to pick what size lumber we want for the rafters. I recommend building the rafters for your roof with at least a 2x6 lumber. This will give you enough room to make the cuts so the lumber sits perfectly on top of the wall, and also ample space for insulating the ceiling later on. The first mark you need to make will dictate the size of your front soffit. For this shed, I'm having a 16 inches deep soffit. You will then line up that 16-inch mark right in front of the wall. Then I place a piece of 3/4 inch scrap board on top of the front wall and drew a line above it. This is called the seat cut, and it's because the rafter will seat on top of the wall. And after that, you place a square against the wall and draw a line for your heel cut. And once you have marked the cuts for the front of the shed, it's time to go on the back and mark those cuts. And on the back, we use a very similar process to measure and mark the cuts. We place a piece of scrap board and mark the horizontal seat cut, and with the square placed against the back of the wall, we mark the vertical heel cut. And to make these cuts, I start the cut using a circular saw, and then I switch to a sawzall to get a finished cut. If you don't have a sawzall, you can finish this off with a regular hand saw, and it should be pretty straightforward. And once you have both the front and the back cuts completed, it's time to bring the rafter back up onto the roof so we can check for fitment. And it's okay if you don't get this perfectly the first time. You can always make adjustments. But once you are happy with the rafter, you can duplicate this 4 other times. And once you have a total of 5 rafters cut, it's time to install them on the roof. For each one, I sink 2 nails on each side of the rafter. And the same goes for the back side. As I install each rafter, I'm keeping a 24 inches space between one another. And as far as length, I used a full 10-foot 2x6 for each rafter. And as you probably noticed, I did not cut the ends to square up with the building. I left them as is. If you prefer, you can cut the ends square, but for me, this is the easiest way to build rafters for a lean-to shed, and it looks great. And now we have to install the subfascia. If you have someone to help, this is super easy. If you don't, I'm gonna show you a little trick that's gonna help you install the subfascia by yourself. Measure 5 1/4 inches from the end of a 2x6, grab a nail and nail it right in the center of the stud. Then you bend the nail towards the side. Then you're gonna hook the nail right in the center of the first rafter. Now you have an extra helping hand holding up the subfascia. All you have to do is drive couple nails on the end of each rafter holding up the subfascia. This trick can help you in a lot of different ways, but the reason I'm using 5 1/4 inch nail in the rafter is so I can add another rafter on the end of each subfascia. And after adding the rafter on each side of the building, you can cut the excess of the subfascia. Then I installed blocking between the last two rafters to keep them more sturdy. You're only gonna need about 3 or 4 blocks on this last bay. Also, it's a good option to toe nail the last rafter on top of the wall. And now we're gonna install the roofing sheeting onto the roof. And on the roof, I'm using the LP Tech Shield roof sheeting. LP claims that this radiant barrier OSB blocks up to 97% of radiant heat. This can reduce the temperature inside of the shed by up to 30 degrees. And I can tell you that the radiant barrier sheeting that we install on the roof helps keep the shed cool on the summer months. And it does so by reflecting the heat back out so it doesn't penetrate the shed. And knowing the right materials to purchase for your shed can be complicated, but to help you out, we have free build plans and a free list of materials right in the description. If you're watching this on the TV, I'm gonna leave a QR code that you can scan right here, and I hope that helps you out when it's your time to build your shed. Now, installing the roof sheeting is pretty simple and straightforward. I use a stacking method overlapping where each seams end up. I nail each sheet with framing nails every 16 inches or so. Just make sure to leave about an eighth of an inch gap between each sheet so there's enough room for expansion. And for this shed, I only needed a total of 4 sheets to complete the roofing deck. Building a shed can be very fun, and I know it's not for everybody. If you still want to get a shed and you don't want to climb the roof to build a shed, you can get a high quality shed delivered to you. Check the description below or the QR code on your TV right here. We're going to connect you with local shed dealers that can provide a high quality shed at the right price. And now that we have the roofing deck done, you may want to go either the route of installing the doors and windows or roofing the shed. I'm going to go roofing the shed next. If you want to check that out, there's a video for you right here. If you want to check out the whole build beginning to end, there's a video for you right here. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Bye.